Three, two, one.
Action.
All right, welcome everybody. We're here for episode 19 of the podcast, Untitled ZX, also known as Movie Talk with Nick and Uncle Frank. That's me. I'm back. Nick from Aruba, as you can tell.
Yep, you're back here with your regular setup.
How was Memorial Day?
Honestly, I didn't even realize it was Memorial Day until like halfway through the day when Mom had asked something about whether or not a store was closed, and I'm like, it's Monday. Why would it be closed? And she's like, Memorial Day, and I'm like, oh right.
Yeah, you need to have something on Monday so you're not forgetting what day of the week it is.
I forget what day of the week it is most days, most weeks when I'm home.
Yeah, I guess that's the trouble with summer vacation.
I'm like Grandpa. I don't pay attention to what day it is unless I actually have to pay attention to what day it is. And
True.
days I don't, so
Yeah, good point. Well, you got a long list of things here, so we should probably get started, huh?
yes, we should. This will be a probably a longer episode unless I just gloss through half the things, which honestly we might.
Yeah, we got several movie reviews. Obsession.
Yeah, we
Uh,
talked about that a bit last week, but last week I had literally just seen the movie like an hour
yeah.
before recording. So I've gathered my thoughts a little more. I also saw it a second time because Mom and Sam wanted to see it, and I said, sure, why the hell not? I'll go too.
All right. And we also got a little review about The Boys.
I wouldn't call it a review because I'm less than halfway through the first season, but
Okay. First impressions.
yeah.
And then I'm excited by this movie review, The Sheep Detectives. I'm surprised this was on your list.
Well, I saw it because Grandma wanted to see it with all the kids, and I said, I'm not going to say no to a movie. And surprisingly, much to my surprise, it actually had fairly positive reviews going into it, more so than I thought was possible, not just with critics, but with people I follow on Letterboxd, which, again, not something I expected from the director of Minions: The Rise of Gru, but
Well, I'm glad Grandma's dragging into the movies now. And then we got a video game movie review, and then we promised we'd talk about Star Wars, The Mandalorian, which I know we got a lot to say about that.
yes, I have
So
a lot of things to say about that. That movie offends me to my very soul, but
we'll get to that one. Let's start with Obsession. So tell me, what's it about?
So we discussed this a little bit last week already, but this is a low-budget horror movie directed by Curry Barker in his directorial debut. Low budget, and when I say low budget, I mean it's on a budget of $575,000, not even a full million. It's grossed over 85 million worldwide, though, so I'd say they've more than made their budget back.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This is a psychological horror with comedic elements. The whole sort of basic premise is there's this guy, Bear. He's kind of a loser. He's got this crush on this one girl. He finds this cheap little toy called the One Wish Willow, where you break it and you make a wish. Seems like it's like a $7 thing he found at like the Dollar General. And he's like, sure, it can't be that bad, right? Can't even work. It's probably just some silly gimmicky thing. Turns out it does, in fact, work. He wishes that she likes him or loves him obsessively, hence the title. And it spirals out of control very quickly, and he takes advantage of the situation.
Okay. Sounds a little crazy.
Yeah, crazy is definitely a adequate way to put it.
You said you found it scary. We did talk about this because the girlfriend you thought was really good acting.
Yes, this is her. She's been in a few little things before. I think her most prominent role before this is, I believe she was in Superman and Lois on the CW, actually, but I watched a bit of that show a while ago, but I never got to finish it. Actually, I
So
never
even
finished
after,
the
even
season.
after the second viewing of Obsession, you still same review.
Yeah.
Still like
Yeah, I think it actually is a bit better the second time because the second time you sort of see the signs of her craziness earlier on. Like you see mannerisms after he makes the wish. You see her already starting to shift. There's one scene right after he makes the wish, where you see she's went left. He took her home, and she goes to her front porch. Then he makes the wish. Then literally she turns around, comes back, and you see her saying these things that seem wildly out of character, even if you've only known what she's really like for a few minutes at this point. And not only wildly out of character, but she's also like making weird mistakes and sort of trying. You can tell that it's no longer her in control of her own body. You can tell that there's another entity controlling her, and you can tell it's the entity at this point is still trying to figure out what the right thing to say is in this moment. He makes it very obvious very early on that she's already been afflicted by this, but our loser protagonist Bear does not entirely pick up on it.
Right. For a
Un
little while.
un
Yeah.
Yeah, he picks on up on it fairly quickly. It only takes him like 10 minutes movie time to figure it out, but to figure out that
Yeah.
things off and to verify that this wish has worked and she is no longer in control of herself, that is no longer the person he was in love with once
Yeah.
crush on. That's no longer the same person, and it's very, very obvious. He figures it out pretty early on, but I think the thing that's kind of terrifying is she's more of the victim than he is. He is not the victim in this story when she spirals into when the entity controlling her spirals into madness because he keeps taking advantage and making it about himself, even way past the point where he realizes it's her. Like, for all intents and purposes, our protagonist is the villain of the story.
Yeah. 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 Well, he did it to her. Yeah. She's the one that's been affected.
He did it to her, and he continues to take advantage of it even when it starts to negatively affect him.
Right.
Because it starts
Okay.
to negatively. There's one scene after she's spiraled into madness, but she's able to take control when the entity is sleeping. There's one scene towards the end that is sort of heartbreaking and sort of real. It sort of gives you a full insight as to how sort of twisted he is and how badly he's taken advantage of this, how sort of cruel he is being, where she manages to gain brief control enough to talk to him,
Hmm.
the entity, and she's basically just begging him to kill her. And he, instead of thinking about, what he's done, his first reaction is, oh, is it so bad being with me? He manages to make it about himself.
Wow. Okay. That's
He's
crazy.
he's
Hmm.
so desperate to fulfill his fantasies that the literal madness that has taken over her via a seemingly external entity is not even a concern to him. He doesn't care. It's all about me, me, me,
Wow.
and how it affects him because it spirals into a cycle of violence in which she ends up towards the end of the movie killing two of their friends. And he calls the guy who he calls the phone number on the box of the weird wish thing, and the guy who is completely nonchalant, he's like, "Oh yeah, this is typically what happens." And he's like, "How do I stop it? Can I change the wish or cancel the wish?" And he's like, "Nah, bro. It's gonna last as long as you live. The literal only way out is to kill yourself.
Whoa.
Either kill yourself or get someone else to make a wish that cancels out yours."
Okay. Wow. All right.
He tried the first option. It didn't go very well because the guy he tried to get to make the wish to cancel out his wish didn't believe him, and then there's a hysterical joke at the end of the movie, um, where he's talking to his one friend. He's like, "Yo, you've got to make a wish that says I never that wish that I never made a wish." And he's like, "You sound completely crazy. Is this like a joke? What is wrong with you?" And so, in a moment of instinct, there's this hysterical scene where he's like, "All right, then I wish for $1 billion." He breaks the thing in half, and Bear just screams, "No!" And then $1 billion in cash just starts raining out of the sky. The timing of the line delivery, both his "I wish for $1 billion" and Bear's "No!" sort of made that land so well in
Huh.
terms of and a generally pretty tense movie. I mean, yes, it does have some comedic moments, but it's very dark comedic moments. But that I feel like that's such a weird, funny moment in this very disturbing movie, but it doesn't feel out of place at all. Like it doesn't take you
Yeah.
out of the movie, even though you're in the climax of this movie. It's very dark, very intense, but it doesn't
Did,
take you out of it. Is why I feel like it
did you
works.
like the ending? Did you like the ending of the movie?
I think the ending is fitting, except for one thing that was kind of awkward that Mom pointed out because Mom did not like the movie. But
Yeah.
um, but at the end of the movie, he does kill himself. He downs a bottle of pills and then overdoses. He tries to shoot himself first, but he can't bring
Yeah.
himself to do that, so he does the drug version instead. And then you see her break down, crying hysterically, like wailing. And then you see her snap. You see her stop for a second and sort of realize where she is because again, she's not in control. But you see the exact moment the entity leaves, the entity
Hmm.
stops controlling her, and she's back in her own mind. You see her sort of briefly freak out before. I think the weirdest thing is that she just kind of starts wailing again, and then it cuts to credits. It doesn't even cut to credits. It transitions into the credits in sort of a bizarre way, and you just hear her wailing over the credits. which I feel is kind of weird because that's the thing that the entity controlling her tended to do, which is was part of it sort of being obvious that it's not her in control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sam and your mom were not big fans?
Sam thought it was weird, but not that bad. Mom has been blowing it out of proportion.
Okay. So she would not give it the same score as you.
No, absolutely not. She doesn't see the brilliance of the screenplay. And
What's your final score a week later?
9 out of 10 still. Also, one thing that's really funny to me. So the two main characters and their two friends all work in this music store, which is owned by one of their friends' dads. The owner of the music store is played by Andy Richter, who I since have learned is the dude who plays voices Mort in the Madagascar movies, and I cannot not think about that whenever I see him now.
That's
Like
funny.
I physically cannot just
He's been around a while, Andy Richter.
yeah, he's a fairly well-renowned comedian, but again, I cannot unthink of Mort, who is many people have joked over the years that Mort from Madagascar is in fact the strongest character ever portrayed in a work of fiction.
I don't know it, so yeah, I'll take your word for it. All right, let's move on. The Boys, season one.
Yes, I'm quite behind on this show. The show ran for 5 seasons, and the fifth season ended last week. It literally just ended the final season.
Okay.
So I'm hopping on this train a
What's it
little.
about?
It's it's a superhero but it's also a political satire.
Okay.
It's based on a comic series by Garth Ennis, but the whole premise is that your main group, you've got the main characters, a group called the Boys, who are like rogue CIA agents who are dedicated to killing all supes, which are the term they use for super-powered individuals or superheroes in this world. But the superheroes, particularly the main superhero team called the Seven, who has a lot of characters who are parodies, they're the main villains of the show. But they are basically corporate sponsored superheroes. The main one is a guy named Homelander, who is basically what if Donald Trump was Superman? Um, he's an angsty, egomaniacal man child who can shoot lasers out of his eyes and fly.
Wow. Okay.
I'm only 3 episodes into it, so we haven't seen too much of Homelander's angsty, edgy, mentally underdeveloped man-child point, but we've seen a bit of his ego though, and
And
we
what are your impressions so far?
the thing that I find sort of insanely kind of compelling about this is, again, I'm only 3 episodes in. I'm not even halfway through the first season, but I think the thing that makes this so compelling in its concept is one, the political satire, even though the first season came out 7 years ago, this is still pretty relevant with the whole corporate controlled America. You see the corporations blackmail a politician into letting them use corporate sponsored superheroes in the military within the first couple episodes, where they sabotage and blackmail a senator's reputation to get him to approve a bill that lets them put superheroes in the military, and the superheroes are controlled by this mega like media conglomerate.
Hmm.
So they're not really well-intentioned people. They're egomaniacs who have their egos stroked by businessmen. I think the sort of interesting thing is we see this through several perspectives because there's three main characters, I feel like. There's Huey, who is played by Jack Quaid. He is sort of the character we follow the show through, but because at the very beginning of the show, he's just a kind of a regular guy. He works at a tech store or computer store. So
Okay.
he's like one of those tech bros that those like what is it called? The people that work at Best Buy that like fix your computer. He's one of those kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
pretty
Yep.
regular guy. He's got a regular life. He lives with his dad. He's got a girlfriend. But the thing that sort of sets the show in motion is pretty early in the first episode. There's a scene where him and his girlfriend are standing on the sidewalk, and then in an instant, a blur, she just explodes, bursts into a million pieces in a pile of blood because she's been hit by A Train, who is a superhero who is basically he's a speedster. He's like they're the Flash. He runs real fast. He's run right through her because he wasn't paying attention to where he was going.
Ooh.
You'd think that would be a PR nightmare, but they settle it in about a day and a half and then don't think anything about it, which starts to really piss him off because he just kind of makes his condolences, but he never apologizes. And that's when he meets the show's other main character, Butcher, who is a former CIA agent who is the leader of the boys. This And he finds Huey because he knows what happened to Huey and how they basically just glossed over his girlfriend being murdered in a freak accident by a superhero not paying attention to where he was going.
Uh,
And they sort of find a place that this superhero A Train goes to a lot, this like leisurely place that he goes, like a bar or something. And they find him sitting down talking to one of his superheroes one of his superhero friends on a security camera, and they see him laughing about the fact that he just murdered someone. Like, oh yeah, I ran right through her, like poof, done. And he sees him laughing, and boom, he's now no longer a regular guy. I mean, he's still a pretty innocent, naive guy, but he's just been brought into the world of the corruption of superheroes and the even more prevalent corruption of the corporations controlling them. But that also brings us, there's one other main character who I think is arguably the most interesting character at this point. Her name is Starlight, who is an independent superhero who, in an attempt to get a better job, she takes over an empty slot with the Seven and
mhm.
joins this corporate superhero team with all these other superheroes who are like the most famous in the world and people like she idolizes. You've got Homelander, you've got the Deep, who is basically their parody of Aquaman. They've got Black Noir, who is like a Batman or Punisher-esque figure. There's a whole bunch of them. There's Queen Maeve, who's like their Wonder Woman parody. Um,
Yeah,
she finds all these superheroes the world looks up to, and very early on, she realizes that they are not what they seem, and they're not genuine at all. Everything they do on her first time getting dispatched on a mission, she goes on a mission where she beats up some thugs, and then immediately after, they take photos of her and ask her to smile pretty for the camera and for the news. And she realizes how manufactured and corporate this all is. There's no genuine intentions to do good. And there's one instance where she finds two muggers about to rape someone, and she beats them up in like her civilian clothes and, throws the whole public identity thing out the window because she gets caught. And they are all like, you know how stupid that was? And she's like, she was in danger and I was doing what I'm supposed
right.
to do. And
Doing
she's
good.
like, no, 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 this is a PR nightmare because you don't have any proof that they were going to rape her. They just see that you beat up these guys because you didn't ask for a name and something, something. And they're like, this is a PR nightmare. And they're all like freaking out. And then immediately after, they change their mind because the woman who she saved comes out and publicly thanks her. So they're like, okay, yeah, now this is not a PR nightmare anymore because you've got a witness. Also, we're going to put you in an outfit that's a lot skimpier because it's better for publicity. And they're just like, what? And she's just like, what? And she tries to fight them for it, but she ends up caving in eventually. But
Well, it is kind of weird to put superheroes in like a real world situations with all the flaws of humans and
yeah,
you
I
know
think
who's
this is similar to, I think this and because Prime Video, this is a live action show, but they've also got the animated show, which is another superhero show with,
Mhm.
it's not quite the same premise, but I think the differences between the two shows, but they're very thematically similar in some ways, not necessarily thematically, but sort of in the ways they're presented. S- Um, more like what if real people were superheroes? So you deal more with the humanity and the human
Uh,
side of
yeah,
superheroes and relationships between them. Whereas the boys here deals with what if superheroes were put in our world,
right.
in this very
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
corporate controlled world. It's like, what would
Yeah.
it look like in this world? And supposedly some people started to criticize it in its later seasons because they thought the political commentary got too over the top. There was one instance that I remember seeing because apparently in the fifth season there was a sequence where Homelander compares himself to like God and makes himself a gold statue and tries to be like this religious figure. And 2 days later, our president did the exact same thing 2 days after the episode aired. And the
Yeah.
showrunner just goes on a tangent. He's like, you've got to be kidding me. We can't even make good
Yeah.
satire anymore. He just gets so pissed. He's like, we can't even make good satire anymore because real life is too ridiculous.
He's got a good point.
Yeah, and it's like some people were like, it's too on the nose, and it's like they wrote and filmed this a year ago. This is not like a
Right.
reaction to something happening in real life. This is pure coincidence that something in real life happened to mirror the events of a show that was filmed a year ago. That just,
Maybe it's not coincidence.
I mean, they definitely, from what I've heard, they definitely don't like shy away from like the Homelander Trump comparisons, but
No, I meant maybe our political leaders are watching the show.
they very well might. They
And
like
then they're just doing what they do in the show. Never know.
yeah, well, life mimics art and vice versa, I feel.
Yeah.
vice
All
versa.
right, let's move on.
The sheep
The
movie.
Sheep Detectives.
So this was a bizarre one because the trailers looked really bad and I had literally no expectations going into it. It was
Uh-huh.
directed by Kyle Balda, who is this is his feature live action debut. I think he's only directed one movie on his own, which was Minions: The Rise of Gru, but I think he also co-directed Despicable Me 3.
Mhm.
Needless to say, that did not inspire much confidence in me. Uh,
Right.
it was written by Craig Mazin, though. Craig Mazin has a mixed reputation because he writes comedies and dramas. Like he wrote stuff like Scary Movie 3 or not Scary Movie 4 or
Hmm.
like the Hangover trilogy, but then he also wrote Chernobyl and The Last of Us for HBO. So it's like, okay, that's a
He
interest.
wrote he wrote The Hangover.
I believe so, yes. Wrote
Wow.
he also
Okay.
wrote again Chernobyl and The Last of Us for HBO,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
are
yeah.
very
All
much
right.
um
Pretty varied work.
yeah, so
But it
they're
had some famous people in it.
very big cast. You've got Hugh Jackman, who is top billed despite only being in the movie for 15 minutes, because
Right.
I would say
He,
this is a spoiler alert, but him dying is like the kind of inciting incident of the movie and also, plastered all over the marketing. That was weird to
yeah.
me, the way they plaster him. Like, I know he's a big name, but he's not the only big name in the movie. They've got quite a few. So I know they top billed him for that reason, but also like it's not even a spoiler. Like they literally put it in the trailers, like, yes, Hugh Jackman is going to die, and it's going to happen very early in the movie.
Yeah. But Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Bryan Cranston in it.
Yeah, they were the two main sheep characters. They were the voice actors. There were a lot of
Okay.
a lot
Still
of
voices then, yeah.
yeah, a lot of the voices were bigger or more famous people. Like Patrick Stewart voices one of the sheep. Actually,
That's good. It's got to be an easy job for these actors because they go into some studio somewhere and they don't have to do a lot of real acting or get dressed up. They just got to speak.
yeah. The thing with there was another actor in this that was kind of not a huge actor, but someone who's worked with Craig Mazin before, actually. Bella Ramsey, who played Ellie in the live action, the HBO Last of Us show.
Okay.
So, that was out. I messing with doors, sorry. Uh, anyway,
What do you think of the plot then? Tell me.
I think the thing that caught me off guard is that, yeah, I know they were going to kill Hugh Jackman early on, but I didn't think they were really going to deal with it beyond like, oh, he's dead, that's that. I didn't think they were going to deal with sort of themes of death and memory and the
Mm.
inevitability of death.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel like in this day and age, a lot of kids' movies, a lot of big ones end up being sort of lame, generic movies that have literally nothing to say. And
Hmm.
people then defend them. Like I look at the Mario movie a couple last month. That was just kind of nothing. It had nothing going for it besides bright
Yeah.
colors and flashy references. And then everyone online is like, "Oh, it's for kids. We shouldn't have to criticize kids' movies." And I'm like, if we don't criticize movies, then no one will make good ones. And but you don't see
You
them.
hear that alarm going off?
No,
No.
I don't hear an alarm now.
Okay.
Oh, now I hear it. Oh, I don't hear it anymore. It's gone.
Apparently, yeah. I don't know. Somebody turned the alarm on down there. What's so annoying?
I see.
All right. So it deals with death issues, which is unusual but interesting. Okay.
Think kids' movies need more guts to actually deal with darker themes because I feel like it didn't portray it in a way that's like inaccessible to children. I mean, Audrey said it was scary, but Audrey is also 5, so
Yeah.
and this film is rated PG, so it's allowed to go a little further than like a G-rated movie. You don't really see G-rated movies very often anymore, actually, but
Yeah.
yeah, but this sort of it dealt with those sort of concepts of the inevitability of death and sort of accepting it, but also not forgetting those that you've lost. Which the thing it reminds me of most of all in that department is actually Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which was a similar sort of themes of sort of accepting that you are mortal, you will eventually die, but also in making the most of that time you have and conveying it in a way that is accessible to children but still impactful to older audiences, I feel like, which is sort of a thing that, again, I feel like a lot of major kids movies don't feel bothered to do that because they think kids are dumb and will clap at anything. So I'm
Yeah.
not wrong, but that's not the point.
Nick, hold on a second. I'm gonna go turn this thing off.
I'd say I'd cut this out, but honestly, I think it's a decently funny gag, so I might just leave it in. I think that'd be funny if we leave the stupid alarm going off in them.
All right, I'm back. Apparently, when I was in Aruba, the power went out. So
Yeah. My power flickered in and out yesterday too, just randomly at like 9 in the morning. I don't know why. It
yeah.
literally went out for a fraction of a second.
All right, and then tell me, so Patrick Stewart was in the movie too. He was good.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't do too much, but he was pretty funny. So
Yeah. All
I
right.
severely underestimate Patrick Stewart's comedic timing and sort of his ability to just kind of be ridiculous and have fun with it. It's like he was obviously having a good time in that recording booth. So
And what did you think of the filming itself?
the cinematography was not great. The lighting was kind of dull. But again, I didn't really expect much in that regard from a dude whose body of work
Yeah.
includes and is limited to Minions: The Rise of Gru and Despicable Me 3.
And I'm sure he didn't get a big budget in this case.
I mean,
Sounds like he spent all of his money on his cast, I'd imagine. So
clearly, clearly,
yeah.
cast alone probably cost like 200 million.
Yeah, exactly. Although I guess getting him as voice actors it's maybe not as bad, but yeah.
Maybe, but they're still, it's not like it's not Patrick Stewart or anything, but it,
Right,
he's got
exactly. Yeah.
Patrick Stewart still.
How did Grandma like the movie?
Grandma thought it was cute, but Grandma watches like two movies a year, and that's usually her reaction is it's cute because
True.
she only goes to movies because she thinks they look cute.
She is a big fan of sheep.
Well, yes, she talks to the ones across the street. I
Yeah,
don't
so
know what
that's
she
got
hopes to intend. I don't know what she hopes to accomplish with that, but she tries, I guess.
yeah. Well, so any movie about a sheep was probably going to be high in her book. So,
Yeah.
all right, what's your final score?
It's like a 7.5 to 8 out of 10. I might lower it just because the
Yeah,
cinematography was kind of hideous, but
yeah, but better than you thought. So
better
that's
than
good.
I expected. The bar was admittedly not high in that department, but again,
All right, all right. Next, you got a video game review. VS. What?
versus.
Yeah. Okay. What's this one about?
So this is a like a 2D fighting game. I think like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, but it's based on the TV show, which is based on the comic series, and which I've talked about before. Before I believe.
Mhm.
Oh, I can make the title card joke in this episode again. Uh, anyway, um, it's sort of it's kind of bizarre from a gameplay standpoint. It's pretty straightforward. Like I've played a couple of the Mortal Kombat, so the controls are pretty easy to figure out. Although for whatever reason, the uppercut attack is usually crouch plus triangle in these styles of games, but here it is crouch plus circle on I play on PlayStation, so this is on the DualSense controller.
Uh,
Kind of bizarre, but you know what? Whatever. I figured it out. The roster of the characters is like okay, but there's six Viltrumites in this game, and I do not know why there are six Viltrumites in this game because they all fight exactly the same. It's like I would have been fine with just Mark and Nolan in Conquest. We did not need Thula and Lucan, characters who are in like two episodes and have like zero fans.
mm,
Like nobody, I guarantee it, not a single person would have been particularly upset if they weren't in the game. Like nobody would miss them. Nobody would have
mm.
said, you know who would have been cool in this game? Lucan. It's like, no, they'd say, I want Battle Beast. I want Conquest. No, that nobody would have cared if Lucan wasn't here. But also, it's very funny that Omni-Man Nolan was actually a guest character in Mortal Kombat 1. His
Hmm.
his moveset in this game is like exactly the same, and it's really funny. Like he has the exact same moves and everything. It's like I would not be surprised if they built this entire game off of his moveset in Mortal Kombat.
Did you finish the whole game?
I finished the story mode, but the story
Okay.
mode was like kind of pathetic.
Yeah.
It only took me an hour to beat, and I sat there. I literally fit it in shit in one sitting. I beat it in an hour, and then it's like, oh yeah, the game's over, and the credits start rolling, and I'm like, That's it? That's all we got? There's like nothing here. I mean, the logistics of the story always had me kind of confused because I wasn't sure how they'd make it. I wasn't sure if it was actually going to be like canon to the TV show or like
Mhm.
if they could fit it in. I still don't really see how this fits in because it makes no sense. Um, the thing that makes the very short campaign or story mode even worse is that there's and I have this issue with the Mortal Kombat games that I've played as well, Mortal Kombat 11 and Mortal Kombat 1. I wouldn't be surprised if this is just a normal thing that these style of fighting games do is they feel the need to include every character in the playable roster into the story to
Mhm.
some capacity. And in a game like this, again, you've got six Viltrumites, and if this is like hypothetically in between seasons 2 and 3 of the show, there is no like logistic or realistic reason for them to be here. Like there it makes more sense that they wouldn't be here. I don't know why they're here. Originally, I thought it
And
was
especially if the story's only an hour,
yeah,
then you don't have enough time to go cover stories from all these characters.
yeah. I mean, a lot of it's just because you can learn their different move sets, and I'm like, we literally have a tutorial in the game for that specific purpose.
Mm.
Like we have a
You don't
practice.
need it. You don't need it in a story.
Yeah, and but they shoehorn one thing that was particularly funny is like Omni-Man is a character who should not be on Earth at this time. And he's not.
Mhm.
But he's still very involved in this story, even though he's not actually physically here. Because at the end of the whole thing, they reveal that the reason all these characters have been put here is because these people called, I think they're called like the engineers or the technicians or something, who are like these alien, like they're like cybernetic and like geneticists. They're weird, but it's like they kidnapped everyone and made them fight so they can steal their power or something. I honestly couldn't figure out what their actual intentions were here, but they kidnapped everyone on the roster, including two Viltrumites, which makes no sense because why are they here?
Yeah.
Like half the characters being in this game just don't make sense. Also, the character of Alan the Alien has a horrendous voice actor. In the TV show, he's voiced by Seth Rogen, but he is not voiced by Seth Rogen here. He's voiced by a guy who sounds like he's trying to do a drunken Seth Rogen impression.
Oh boy.
He does not sound good. He sounds like he's trying really hard but accomplishing nothing. Like he does not sound like him.
Seth he's a voice actor here on this, huh?
In the show that it's
In the
based
show.
on. He also is a producer on the show it's based on. He's also a producer on The Boys.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. He's busy.
He produced both of Amazon's big superhero shows.
All right. So give me your score.
It's like a 6.5. The story's awful, but like from a gameplay standpoint, like I can go back to this. It wasn't in by this economy standards, $50 for a like low budget fighting game is not like horrendous when most big blockbuster video games cost between like 70 and like $100 at this point.
Right.
I mean, we're over here with
Right.
the new GTA coming out, and they're like, "Yeah, we're going to charge you $100 for the new GTA," and I'm like, and this is why I'm happy I'm not obsessed with GTA like a lot of people seem to be,
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
because I am not dropping $100 in a game that took them 13 years to make.
All right. Let's go on then. Big movie.
Big movie, except it's not big at all.
Mandalorian.
Yes, the Mandalorian and Grogu. God
All
is dead
right.
and we killed him.
Did you get to see it in IMAX?
Yes, I saw it in IMAX. It was
All
not
right.
worth seeing in
And
IMAX. It was absolutely not worth seeing in IMAX. Frankly, it's not really worth seeing in a theater at all. I mean, I even if I went in knowing it was going to be not great, which I did, um, I still was like, maybe they'll justify themselves. Maybe. I mean, I would have seen it regardless. It has the Star Wars name. I have obligations.
that's right.
Um,
Well, tell me what was the worst. You want to start with the worst parts or the best parts?
I think we're going to start with the good because there's not much of it.
All right, go ahead.
I think it looked a lot better than season 3. It still looks like a TV show. It does not feel like a movie at all in terms of its visual style, but after the sludge fest that was the third season, I think that the visuals have improved to an extent. Um, there's some decently choreographed action sequences, even if the lighting is not the best. I kind of liked the opening scene where Mando blows up a bunch of AT-ATs. That was kind of fun.
Go ahead.
Rada the Hutt is hysterical. He is a hilarious character because he
Hmm.
does not speak Huttese for whatever reason. He just speaks regular English. And he doesn't even sound like he's trying to do like a Hutt voice because Hutts normally have like deep, grumbly voices. And yes,
Yeah.
some Hutts can speak English, but most of the time they use their main language Huttese, and the main villains of this movie, the twins who are Jabba's cousins, they speak a mix of English and Huttese, but they have that sort of grumbly, sort of low voice, and it's very obvious English is not their first language. But Rod of the
Hmm.
Hutt, it's just Jeremy Allen White talking. He's not doing some funny voice or anything. He's just talking. It's really funny because some of his lines are like hilariously bad. At one when he first meets Din, he says something along the lines of, "Do you know how hard it is to be your own man when your father's Jabba the Hutt?" And he goes on a whole tangent about wanting to be his own man and escape his father's shadow because his father was a bad man. And then Mando leaves and goes and like talks to like some warlord, and then he comes back, and then Rada tells him the same thing a second time. Gives him the whole "I want to be my own man" speech again. I'm my
Uh,
own man. I'm not my father. I'm not Jabba.
oh my God. Okay.
Um,
What else?
There were a couple deep cuts that I actually liked in terms of spaceships and vehicles. In the beginning of the movie, we see one of the Imperial warlords try to escape on board an Int-4 interceptor, which is, I think it's been canon for a while, but this is our first time seeing it on screen. It originated actually as part of the old Kenner toy line from the 80s. It was one of the weird original vehicles that they made back when, because the toy lines in the 80s, more recently, they would do random vehicles that are like not actually from anything, just random things they come up with on the fly and release them as toys. But this was a toy in the 80s. This is not the first time they've done this. The Imperial troop transport that appeared in Rebels and Mando season one actually was based on a toy as well. Um, they like to do stuff that's based on both toys and concept art because I think like the prototype Stormtrooper armor in the Bad Batch and Maul was based on the original Ralph McQuarrie concept art for Stormtrooper armor. So it's kind of cool to see them reutilize things that aren't actually part of the canon. They're just kind of things that are out there and not really relevant, but it's fun to see them sort of reuse or introduce these things. There was another ship I liked seeing that I was like, oh, I've seen that before, called the HH-87 Starhopper, which is like
Hmm.
the main starfighter of the Hutt cartel. I believe it originated in the Clone Wars, and the only reason I'm like particularly familiar with its name is because they made a Lego set of it in 2013 that I really wanted but never got because I was 8 and broke. But they were like the main ship the Hutt cartel used as like their starfighter, so we see a bunch of them fighting like X-Wings and Y-Wings at the end of the movie during the big like dogfight on Nal Hutta, because we go to the Hutt homeworld of Nal Hutta and we spend a lot of time there actually.
And
Um,
so I didn't realize John Favreau directed this movie, huh?
yes, he
Because
was
he did the Mandalorian season one. Has he done all the seasons?
He was the showrunner, creator of all of them, but he only directed one episode of the show, season two, episode one, but he is the showrunner the entire time. He created the show, he oversaw everything. He didn't direct any episodes in the first season, but that's because he was busy working on the live action Lion King that made $1 billion, but nobody actually likes.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this is also his first film since said live action Lion King because he's been busy producing like half of Disney Plus's content library. So
Yeah, I wonder why I decided to direct this one.
because it's his show, I guess. It is
Okay.
show. He directed and co-wrote it, although honestly, I don't think much writing was done here. The script is very bare bones. The one
What
thing
else was good?
there was one thing I really did like where it was about 15 to 20 minutes where Grogu is separated from Din because Din is knocked like unconscious, so Grogu's trying to like protect him and figure out how to help him. And he's
Hmm.
just going off on his own. And that's a solid like 20 minutes with no dialogue and just puppets. And I think that is probably the only moment in the movie where I'm like, wow, Grogu feels like an actual character here.
Yeah.
That was like a nice sequence just because
And 20 minutes with no speaking, huh? That's crazy.
yeah, I mean, there was a little bit because he met this like swamp like lizard guy who talked to him a little bit and helped him get medicine for Din.
Yeah.
The swamp guy was kind of random because he didn't do much of anything, but he was kind of fun because he was voiced by Stephen McKinley Henderson, who was a great actor who was just here for funsies, I guess. a lot of people just felt like they were in it for like a paycheck or just for fun. Like Martin Scorsese had a cameo, not even a cameo. He was like in the opening credits and everything, where he played a character named Hugo Durant, who was a Ardennian shopkeeper who Din goes to for information. He was actually
Hmm.
kind of weird because his name is two different references. His name is Hugo is a reference to Martin Scorsese's movie Hugo,
Mm.
and Durant, the last name, is a reference to the character of Rio Durant from Solo, a Star Wars story, who is a member of the same species, an Ardennian. But the reason they made that connection is because you're never going to believe who voiced Rio Durant in Solo.
Who?
Jon Favreau.
Oh,
So he,
well, I know a lot of famous people just wanted to be in Star Wars movies, right? So they take any character for free.
yeah, Scorsese seemed like a weird choice though, just because this feels very Marvel-y in how
Right.
inconsequential and sort of generic it is. And Martin Scorsese has very publicly expressed his disdain for Marvel and
Right.
MCU style movies. So you know what? I guess I do think him and Jon Favreau have worked. I think Jon Favreau's been in a movie of his in like a supporting role, so I guess they know each other or have worked
Could
together
be.
before.
John Favreau has been around quite a while now.
Yeah, he's lost his touch, that's for sure. But
So anything else you were happy with or no?
my expectations were so low that they physically could not have disappointed me. Season three was
Okay.
awful. So this was not as awful as season three, and that is perhaps the best way I can describe this as. It's not horrendous in terms of the story department, but
Hmm.
that leads me into the negatives. It's
Yeah.
not awful in the story department. It listened to all of the narrative feedback or the complaints about the story and the narrative of season three and the character arcs in season three. It
Yeah.
responded, they responded by simply not having character arcs at all. Din is basically just a prop at this point. He stopped being a compelling character after the end of season two. Like, he was a great, compelling lead in the first two seasons. You see him meet Grogu, you see him sort of feel discontent with his life as part of this creed, this way of Mandalore, and he wants to be a real Mandalorian, but he has a very narrow-minded perspective of what that means. And you
Hmm.
see he's struggling, he's discontent, he wants to be more than just a bounty hunter, and he wants to finally breathe some fresh air for once without the stupid helmet. And throughout seasons one and two, you see him sort of start to overcome that. You see him with Grogu, he finds a purpose beyond fighting just for paychecks. He finds something worth fighting for.
Hmm.
And in season two, you see him sort of he goes on this journey to bring Grogu back to the Jedi, and you see him sort of once Grogu gets captured, you see him really start to like challenge his own worldview. In season two, episode seven, there was one sequence that was kind of stupid logic wise, but character wise, it was really powerful. Where he was breaking into this Imperial base and he was in a disguise, and he finds this thing, this like terminal to find the information of where Moff Gideon is so he can rescue Grogu, but it needs to like scan for a face, which that was kind of stupid logistically because it doesn't have to scan for a particular face, it just has to scan that you have a face. So logistically it's kind of stupid, but like narratively and like thematically for his character, it's really important. It's sort of challenges. How committed are you to your creed, your way of life that is obviously not something you're overly content with anyway? How much are you willing to stick to what you know, what you're comfortable with? To how much are you willing to stick to it? Are you willing to violate it to save the person you love the most? And
Hmm.
does. And you see that again at the end of the season two finale where Luke shows up and he has to part ways with Grogu. And in that moment, he finally takes off his helmet so he can sort of mirroring Vader's death scene. Actually, it sort of mirrors Vader's death actually in a way where he's takes off his helmet to look on his son with his own eyes,
Mm. They're
which I
saying in this movie as well, really didn't do anything with him.
so his
Because
character,
the previews were all about like him trying to figure out how to be separate from Grogu, and
yeah, that went nowhere. That went literally
they they never finished the end of that. They never came up with an answer to that question.
no, because they just brought Grogu back to him like 2 episodes in, and it wasn't even in his own show. It was in the Boba Fett spin-off show where there was an entire episode about Mando just meandering, just sort of doing his own thing after separated from Grogu. He has the dark saber now, which basically means he's the rightful king of Mandalore. But he's just doing bounty hunter stuff. Like he's just back to his old self, trying to figure out where his purpose is. He goes back to the few members of his creed that survived, and they basically he admits that he took his helmet off, and they're just like, "You're not a Mandalorian anymore," which is still very
But I
funny.
thought in this movie, I thought in this movie as well, he was facing his own death. And no, they didn't do any of that.
They show him sort of in a life-threatening situation, but it does not change his perspective on like life or anything whatsoever. Like he doesn't
Mm.
grow at all because the little bit we get time in Book of Boba Fett seeing him apart, no, at the end of Book of Boba Fett, Grogu comes back to him. He no longer has to find a purpose beyond Grogu because Grogu's just back. And then we get to the third
Okay.
season of the show. It's like, okay, there's still some interesting things we could do upon reaching the third season of the show. He still has the dark saber, which basically means he's the rightful king of Mandalore. And we've got a challenge with Bo-Katan, who really wants to be the leader of Mandalore, even though she botched it twice already. But she wants to try a third time. Third time's a charm. And I there could have been some interesting conflict there that could have resulted in both of them growing as characters. But Mando gets beaten by a swamp monster, and then Bo beats the swamp monster, and then and then on that technicality, he just gives her the dark saber back, and he's like, "Here, you can be the leader of Mandalore because I don't actually want to be a character anymore." And
So,
going into
so,
this
so
movie, my
yeah, go back to the movie then. So here you're saying that so no character arc for Din. Anything? What else though?
yeah, going into this movie, my one hope was that they try to do something compelling with Din as a character, and there's just nothing there. He barely delivers lines. We don't challenge his worldview or his lifestyle or like
Mm.
if a character doesn't get challenged in any way, if their worldview is not challenged, then they fall flat. They are stagnant as characters.
Yeah.
But
All right. What else then?
um so I think his lack of character is probably the biggest thing, but on top of that, most of the actors are bored out of their mind. The few human actors. There's a lot of like CGI and like aliens. You see Sigourney Weaver's in the movie for like 5 minutes. She's very obviously not all that interested in doing much. She doesn't do much, and like
Hmm.
the first scene, she gives Mando, or like the second scene, she gives Mando a mission, and then he goes on the mission. Then an hour later, he comes back and brings her the bad guy, and she's like, "Great, take a day off." And then he goes back home, and then we don't see her again until she shows up in an X-wing in the big final fight. There's a
Hmm.
lot of characters like that in this movie. A lot of them just sort of don't do
Well, it's pretty
anything.
hard if they don't give them any good lines or any purpose. What
Yeah.
else are you gonna do with it as
A
an
lot
actor?
of yeah, and that's a lot of characters in this movie where it's like nobody here has anything resembling a character arc or any reason to be here. Like
Yeah.
Zeb from Rebels appears in this movie. He does like nothing. He exists to be Mando's Uber, and he has literally no chemistry with Mando. Partly
Hmm.
because Pedro Pascal was not in Mando's suit for the majority of the movie. It was mostly the body double Brendan Wayne, and the body double Lateef Crowder does the fight scenes, but Brendan Wayne is most of the in suit versions of Mando. There was one scene where his helmet came off. I thought there would be more of it, but because they showed it off in the trailer, but no, the sequence of him with his helmet in the trailer, helmet off in the trailer, is the only time we see his face in the movie, which means it's the only time Pedro is actually there.
Oh wow.
We've sort of figured out,
So Pedro still voices it all, but
yes, Pedro
we don't know.
and
Yeah.
this has sort of been this is the first time he's been in the costume at all since season two. In the Boba Fett
Uh,
show in season three, he was only did voice work, and here he did
mhm.
one scene in costume, and the rest of it was just him doing voice work. So, one of his body doubles, actually, interestingly enough, Brendan Wayne, he's actually John Wayne's grandson.
Oh wow. Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
He's in it for most of the idle scenes where he's just sort of wandering around. And another guy named Lateef Crowder is the stunt double, so he's in the suit whenever they're doing fight scenes.
I do feel like it's got to be weird. Yeah, I don't know. When you're not, it's not real acting, I guess, when you have different person voicing.
And I think the weirdest part is like that would be one thing if there were more like human characters interacting, but like most of the characters are fully CGI. Rada the Hutt is one of the main characters and he's fully CGI. Zeb from
Hmm.
Rebels is one of the main characters and he's fully CGI. Sigourney Weaver is basically the only human in this movie. And Grogu is, I mean, at least he's physically there because he's a puppet, but like he's still a puppet and he doesn't talk. So,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
even the main villains, we've got the Hutt twins who are not very exciting villains. They're actually pretty generic villains. They were in the Book of Boba. They were from the Book of Boba Fett show. They were in like 2 minutes of the Book of Boba Fett show. So I do not know who at Lucasfilm or Disney thought it would be a good idea to make them the big villains of the first big Star Wars movie in 7 years. Um,
Yeah.
but they're here. They're the villains, and guess what? They're fully CGI too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Sounds more like a cartoon than a real movie.
there's like nobody, like the only physical person on set 95% of the time is just one of two Mando stunt doubles or body.
Right.
It's like it's just the body doubles, and even then he's got the
Yeah.
mask on the whole time. And
Right.
I think the thing that's sort of so upsetting looking at this is Pedro was not in the suit as often in seasons one or two either. Actually, he was not in the suit very often in season one. Um, I think in season one there was a whole debacle where the scene of him taking his mask off in the season one finale was only added because Pedro wanted to be credited as a full actor and not a voice actor. Um, so that's how he did. I think it was still mostly the body doubles even back then, but
Hmm.
back then I feel like they were more emotive because they had more of an idea of what his character sort of and what they wanted to do with him as a character and how he would go
Right.
as a person. So they were able to convey it through body language because he was in a mask the majority of the show anyway. But I feel like
Hmm.
in those first two seasons, you still see more body language that sort of conveys emotions, even if the dialogue isn't always like
Yeah.
it felt more real. He felt more human back then. Now he's sort of stoic and empty. Like he's not much of a character. There was one scene that really pissed me off where after he wakes up from being unconscious for an extended period of time and Grogu took care of him and nursed him back to health and like
Hmm.
healed his wound with the Force, you sort of see when he wakes up there it should be this big moment, right? It should be this huge thing where it's like his son just saved his life and nursed him back to
Right.
health.
Hmm.
You'd think there'd be some moment of like tenderness with his son, like some moment of expression or emotion or
Right.
pride that like this is his son. He's his legal guardian. This is not just a pet or something. This is his kid. This is his son. And you don't even get like he's not even like a big thing. Like you just see he's in the background of the shot and he just walks up and he just says, "The young protect the old protect the young. This is the way." And I'm like, "What?"
Right.
Like
Yeah. Have some emotion.
you've
Have
been
some emotion already.
yeah, you've been unconscious for days before going unconscious. You were like 95% certain you were going to die. And he just
Right.
nursed you back to health. And the first thing you say to him is just you recite part of your religious creed with no emotion whatsoever. Like, bro, there's no like emotion. He has not hugged his son since that. He
Yeah.
only hugged his son once, and it was in the Boba Fett spinoff show. Like, can we
Hmm.
let him have some semblance of like
Yeah.
into
Otherwise, he's a robot. Who wants to watch a movie of a robot?
like there's no sense of like
Yeah.
no emotion whatsoever. It's like you're not going to show any sense of like tenderness with your own child. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like I
All
know
right.
that
You got a score for me?
um at the moment, I have it sitting at a 6 out of 10 because I'm being really, really nice here because I think the fight scenes are cool. And I
Hmm.
did like the music. Ludwig Göransson's score is exceptional, even if
Okay.
it, okay, it's not, I might be blowing it a little out of proportion there because I do think it's not Ludwig's best score. And it's very obvious this was a side gig for him while he's working on the Odyssey. There's a decent amount of themes that are nice here, but a lot of it sort of reuses music from the show.
Hmm.
There was one scene where it was like a dog fight between the Razor Crest and a couple like pirate fighters or whatever. And the music playing during that sequence is a remix of a track that played in the season one finale. And it's not even like trying to hide it. It's very, very close. They also
Hmm.
use the main Mando theme an egregious amount in the soundtrack.
Hmm.
Which, I mean, it's nice to have Ludwig back because Ludwig only composed the first two seasons. Season three, he had Joseph Shirley step in, and
Hmm.
Joseph Shirley is not that great. His music does not have sort of that flair and that unique style that Ludwig has. And
Yeah.
most of his tracks that were actually good at all were mostly just rehashing Ludwig's themes. So
Hmm.
Ludwig being back is definitely nice, but again, it is very obvious that this was a side gig for him. His big thing is the Odyssey right now because that's coming out very soon.
Yeah.
And
All right.
yeah, it
Well,
was
I
good.
don't know. Sounds like I guess if you're a Star Wars fan, you got to go see it. And apparently they have because it's making a lot of money. But yeah, maybe some disappointment.
Yeah, for the first Star Wars movie in 7 years, it doesn't have the scale you need for a Star Wars movie. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
change the galaxy in any way. Like you, nothing really.
Nothing happens.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
stakes are very small, which I would not be so against if it felt like there was some like personal growth for Din and Grogu.
Mhm.
Like if there was more in the realm of like character stuff, I would not be so like appalled by the first movie in years having a very small story, but the
Mhm.
characters just don't change or grow at all. They barely express emotions in general, and it's just kind of dull
Mhm.
and kind of painful. Like if like sure the fight scenes are cool, but interconnected fight scenes only really do so much if there's no emotion behind them.
Right. All right. Well, what's up next, Nick?
Thursday I am seeing Backrooms, and next Monday I am seeing an as of yet unrevealed movie. For
Okay.
AMC's AMC does, and I think Regal does the same thing where they do these mystery movies, the AMC Screen Unseen, every couple weeks. It's usually Monday nights at like 7 at night, and they're usually movies
Mhm.
that have not come out yet. So it's usually I've only been to one before. I went to one last summer because
Mhm.
I did the math and was fairly confident it was the new Jurassic World based on because they list the rating and the runtime, although the runtime's not always exact.
Right.
But I'm going to one next week because I looked on the AMC A-list Reddit and saw what people were sort of speculating it was based on the runtime, and they think it's this English language Japanese movie called The Furious, which is being called one of the best fight or the best action movies of the decade. It sounds like it's a very like fast-paced like action thriller.
Mhm. Okay.
I hadn't seen any footage of it. I saw one poster and was like, wow, this seems cool. People are saying good things about this, so I want to see it. And I'm like, if I can see it early, that's great because its official release date is not until June 12th, and that is the same day Spielberg's Disclosure Day comes out, and that's going to be a busy weekend. So if I have to squeeze one movie in that weekend, it's going to be Disclosure Day.
Yeah, that one looks good. I'm looking forward to that.
It's Spielberg. It's going to be great.
Exactly.
Um, I
All
will.
right. So I think we'll wait and see what you actually get to go see. And I think we're gonna do what little TV talk, Spider Noir.
Yep, that comes out tomorrow. I have no idea how far into it I'll get because I have a fairly busy weekend, but
And what is 007 First Light?
that is a video game that I pre-ordered. It comes out tomorrow,
Mm,
which is about a young James Bond, sort of before he becomes a double O agent. It's the story of how, like, the mission he goes on that earns him his promotion to the double O agent, the double. It's how he becomes 007, but they're treating it like this huge blockbuster game. And the guys who developed it, the developers previously did the Hitman games, which are like widely considered to be like the pinnacle of like stealth and espionage games.
hmm
And the combat looks really good too. I've seen a lot of the combat designers previously worked on the very critically acclaimed Batman Arkham games, which are like everyone loves. So
All right. Well, I'll be curious to see what you think of it.
every
And yeah, summer season's here, movie season. So
yeah, big stuff.
got some good stuff coming.
Yes, we've got quite a bit in the next month or so. I mean, we've got
Yeah.
Spielberg in June, Nolan in July, and those are just the big directors.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not counting all the other blockbusters. We've got what Supergirl, we've got Masters of the Universe, we've got Toy Story,
Mm.
we've got Spider-Man, we've got Resident Evil.
Okay. We got a busy summer.
Yes, we do, in fact.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week then, Nick.
Yep,
I
that
guess
is that is all
cut.
we have. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, cut. That's a wrap. Cut.